The 11th pick in the 2026 NFL Draft just changed everything Bears fans thought they knew about how this roster is being built. And the connection between Kansas City's decision and Chicago's future is something nobody's talking about yet. Welcome back to Bears News Fan Report, your absolute number one source for breaking updates, exclusive analysis, and the most comprehensive coverage of our Chicago Bears. Today, I'm bringing you information that connects dots across the entire first round of this projected draft, showing you exactly how decisions made 10 picks before Chicago even goes on the clock could fundamentally alter the trajectory of this franchise for the next decade. Stay with me through this entire breakdown because what I'm about to reveal will completely change how you think about the Bears' draft strategy. Let me paint the picture of where we are right now in terms of draft positioning and organizational philosophy. The Chicago Bears are currently projected to select 25th overall in the 2026 NFL Draft, a position that reflects the significant progress this team has made under current leadership while also acknowledging that we're not yet a finished product. We're in that critical window where every single draft pick matters enormously, where hitting on your selections in the first round can accelerate a rebuild by years, and where missing can set you back just as quickly. The Bears brass understands this reality, and they've been meticulously evaluating every position of need, every potential prospect, every possible scenario that could unfold on draft night. Now, here's where things get absolutely fascinating, and here's where I need you to really focus on what I'm about to break down. The latest comprehensive mock draft projections from top analysts are showing a first round that's dominated by quarterback selections at the very top, but then transitions into teams aggressively addressing premium positions with elite talent. We're seeing tackles flying off the board, edge rushers being prioritized, playmakers on offense being secured early. This is a draft class that's deep in certain positions and thin in others, which creates fascinating dynamics about who reaches for need versus who takes best player available. The Kansas City Chiefs are projected to be selecting 11th overall, and for a team that just saw Patrick Mahomes return from injury, for an organization that's always thinking about how to maximize their championship window with the best quarterback on the planet, this pick represents a critical opportunity. The Chiefs have been exceptional at identifying talent that complements Mahomes' skill set, at finding players who can take pressure off him, at building an offense that can attack defenses in multiple ways. Their track record in the draft has been outstanding over the past several years, and there's no reason to think they're going to suddenly start making mistakes now. According to the most recent projections, Kansas City is targeting Jeremiah Love from Notre Dame with that 11th overall selection. Now, if you're not familiar with Love, let me give you the full breakdown because this is a player who has been absolutely electric at the college level. We're talking about a running back with explosive burst out of the backfield, legitimate vision to find running lanes before they fully develop, and exceptional receiving ability that makes him a true three-down back in today's NFL. Love isn't just a runner, he's a complete offensive weapon. His 40-yard dash time projects in the 4.3 range, his agility numbers are off the charts, and his production at Notre Dame has been consistently elite against top-tier competition. The Chiefs taking Love at 11 would represent a significant philosophical statement about how they want to attack defenses moving forward. With Mahomes behind center, Kansas City has traditionally been able to win games through the air, but adding a dynamic running back who can create explosive plays on the ground and be a legitimate receiving threat out of the backfield would give them a dimension that's been missing. Think about what Love could do in Andy Reid's offensive system. The motion concepts, the creative play designs, the ability to put him in space against linebackers who can't possibly match his speed and agility. It would be absolutely devastating for opposing defenses, but here's where this becomes critically important for Bears fans, and here's where the ripple effects start to become clear. If the Chiefs take Love at 11, that means a running back with elite physical tools and proven production is coming off the board before Chicago even has a chance to consider him. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. The Bears already have running backs on the roster. We've invested resources in that position recently. Why should we care if Kansas City takes a running back early? And those are fair questions, but they miss the bigger strategic picture of how draft boards get impacted by early selections. When a team like Kansas City, which picks 10th in the league and doesn't necessarily have a glaring need at running back, decides to take that position at pick 11, it sends a signal to the entire league about how elite the top prospects at that position are evaluated. It validates the idea that premium athletes who can impact the game in multiple ways are worth first-round capital, even at a position that's traditionally been devalued in recent drafts. And more importantly for the Bears, it removes one of the most explosive offensive playmakers from the board before Chicago gets to make their selection. The Bears are currently projected to select Romello Height from Texas Tech at pick 25. Height is an edge rusher with excellent length and developmental upside, a player who fits the defensive scheme that Chicago is running and who could eventually develop into a quality starter. But here's the question that Bears fans need to be asking. If Jeremiah Love were still on the board at pick 25, if Kansas City had gone in a different direction at 11, would the Bears be considering an explosive offensive weapon instead of a developmental pass rusher? Would the calculus change if there was a legitimate game-changing running back sitting there who could transform the offense's ability to attack defenses? Let me be clear about something. I'm not saying Romello Height is a bad pick. I'm not suggesting the Bears are making a mistake by prioritizing edge rush. What I am saying is that when you map out how the first round is projected to unfold, there's a very real scenario where Chicago could have had an opportunity to add a player like Love if he hadn't already been selected by Kansas City. And that's the kind of sliding doors moment that can define franchise trajectories. The difference between having an elite offensive weapon versus a developmental defensive player can be the difference between making the playoffs and winning your division, between being a competitive team and being a legitimate Super Bowl contender. Now, let's talk about what Height brings to the table, because understanding the Bears' actual selection requires context about why they're prioritizing this position. Height stands at 6'5" with exceptional length that allows him to disengage from blockers and create pressure on quarterbacks. He's got high-end athletic traits, good initial burst off the line, and the kind of frame that NFL strength coaches love because there's room to add functional muscle without losing flexibility. His production at Texas Tech has been solid, showing flashes of dominance against quality competition, though there are questions about consistency and refinement of pass rush moves. The Bears' defensive philosophy under current coaching emphasizes getting pressure on the quarterback, particularly from the edge positions. Having multiple players who can win one-on-one matchups against offensive tackles is critical in today's NFL, where offenses are so quarterback-centric. Height represents the kind of developmental project that Chicago's coaching staff believes they can maximize, taking his raw athletic tools and teaching him the technique and football intelligence needed to be a consistent NFL performer. But the opportunity cost is real, and that's what Bears fans need to understand. While Height is developing and learning, while he's potentially being brought along slowly in a rotational role before eventually starting, the Chiefs would be deploying Love immediately as a weapon for Mahomes. They'd be scoring touchdowns, creating explosive plays, putting defenses in impossible situations where they have to respect the run and the pass equally. That's the competitive advantage that comes from hitting on elite offensive talent in the first round, and it's the advantage that Chicago would be missing out on in this scenario. The broader context of this draft is also critically important. Quarterbacks are dominating the top of the board with teams like the Jets and Raiders using premium picks to secure their franchise passers. That aggressive movement at quarterback creates a cascading effect down the draft where other premium positions become more valuable. Teams that aren't drafting quarterbacks are loading up on elite defenders and offensive playmakers. We're seeing tackles going early to protect those quarterbacks, edge rushers being prioritized to pressure opposing passers, and dynamic skill position players being secured to complement offensive systems. For the Bears, who already have their franchise quarterback situation addressed with previous draft investments, this draft represents an opportunity to add elite talent around that foundation. The question becomes whether prioritizing a developmental edge rusher over a proven offensive playmaker is the right strategic decision. And honestly, that's a debate that reasonable people can disagree about. There's merit to building through the defensive line to creating a dominant pass rush that can disrupt opposing offenses. But there's also tremendous value in giving your quarterback more weapons, more ways to attack defenses, more explosive playmakers who can create yards after contact and turn short gains into big plays. Looking at the complete first-round projections, the Bears could also be affected by other teams' decisions throughout the draft. If teams ahead of Chicago start reaching for specific positions, if reaches happen that push quality prospects down the board, if there are surprise selections that nobody anticipated, all of that could change what's available at pick 25. The dynamic nature of draft day means that mock drafts are never perfect predictions, but they're valuable tools for understanding general trends and likely scenarios. The Love selection by Kansas City at 11 would also have psychological implications beyond just removing him from the board. It would signal to the entire league that elite running back prospects with 3-down ability are valued enough to use first-round picks on them. And how do you feel about our current draft positioning and the types of prospects that will realistically be available when we're on the clock? Drop your thoughts in the comments because I genuinely want to hear how Bears Nation is thinking about these draft scenarios. The bottom line is this. The Kansas City Chiefs taking Jeremiah Love at pick 11 creates a ripple effect that impacts what's available for the Chicago Bears at pick 25. While Romello Height represents solid value as a developmental edge rusher with upside, there's a legitimate question about whether Chicago would prefer having an explosive offensive weapon like Love if he were still on the board. The draft is all about maximizing opportunities and understanding how early selections create cascading effects throughout the first round. Bears fans need to be watching the entire draft closely, not just our own pick, because everything that happens before we select determines what options are actually available. Make sure you subscribe to Bears News Fan Report if you haven't already, and smash that notification bell so you never miss critical draft updates as we get closer to April. Share this video with your fellow Bears fans because these draft discussions are exactly what will shape our team's future. I'll be back with more comprehensive analysis as more mock drafts emerge and as we get closer to the actual draft. Until then, bear down, and let's hope the front office absolutely nails this. Selection.